welcome each of you, and just a reminder as always, if you have a cell phone, we ask you to turn that off or put that on silence mode. We do have all members present. We don't have anybody to appear before the board, so we'll move to item C, which is approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. That will take us to approval of the consent agenda, and that's basically our June minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. That brings us to the director's report.
All right, the first item on the director's report is the personnel report, and obviously summertime's a busy time for us. Ms. Foster's office is hopping this time of year. So we've had several that have been re-elected or elected into new positions, and those are listed there, and I'll answer any questions that you may have on those. We did get some reassignments made for starting July 1st, and those are also indicated there. One that is not on there that we just added this week, I guess, or I'm sorry, last week, at the end of the week, Patty Priest is coming back to do a part-time contract for us. She's going to be overseeing our ESP program. Previously, Sandy Schultz was doing that, and it just became a little bit more than what we could expect a principal to do. We had some issues on the audit this year for ESP and found out that it was the third year in a row we had the same issue. So we felt like it was important to have someone in place that could do a little closer monitoring during the daytime, go out and do site visits and that sort of thing. And Sandy, just being a principal, was not able to do that. So Ms. Priest is coming back to join us for 120-day type of contract this year to oversee that and get everything standardized with that process and procedures.
Is that already in effective?
It is. It's just, it hasn't made the list yet. We had to kind of twist her arm a little bit, so we were waiting for that confirmation. We got that today, so we're real excited to have her take that on. Any questions on that? All right, a couple of things that are not. She will. A couple of things that are not on the list there. I gave you a copy of the bullying report. The policy that we're going to look at this evening, the 6.304, actually has at the end of it a requirement that I present to you the bullying report that is sent into the state. In 2014-15, we had 2 reported incidences. 15-16, we had 0. So there were no incidences that were reported under that. So, but again, it's kind of officially presented to you through board policy. And another item I'd like to ask the board's consideration and kind of approval to move forward. As you're aware, we're moving the alternative school out of Townsend, and they're moving into the special ed annex that existed, the old health department. We're in the transition of that, and it's going very well. The fire marshal has given us kind of the green light, so we feel like we'll be able to get all of that up and going by the beginning of the school year. I have had a request. The adult education program that is currently being housed in Callan would like to move back into Winchester. They feel like that it would be better serving the community if they could be in a local, centrally located area. So in doing that, I talked with them and offered the space that is at the Townsend Center that we're vacating with the alternative school, and they are interested in doing that. So I'd just like to get the board's kind of blessing to move forward and getting an MOU set up with them so that we can get them located back into Winchester. Ms. Fraley, who's overseeing the program, is here tonight if you have any questions about their intent or use of the facilities or anything that they would need. But I think we can pretty much work with them and get that set up fairly easily and quickly for them to get established by August as well.
You need a motion in that?
I don't know. Do you think I need a motion for that?
I don't think we did.
You give her the keys.
Or give her the keys? Okay.
Give her, turn it over to her.
All right.
She knows how to.
That was a question, not a order.
Thank you.
Well, I think one of the things that you and I have talked about on this is just making sure with the understanding that somewhere down the road, we would like to alleviate ourselves of the Townsend.
Right.
We'd like to get completely out of there and not have that. But while we're there and it's available, I think it's a good idea.
How much more do we have still that remains down there?
The tech center, operating center is there. The o'clock. And then we have the Prevention Coalition that's still there, and Tempora. So we'll be looking for locations for those, hopefully within this school year, areas for them to relocate.
Well, it's certainly a more central location and will serve a lot more people.
And they do serve several of our students. You know, we have students that get to a certain point in high school and they know they don't have enough credits to be able to graduate. Rather than having them just sit there or drop out of school, the adult ed is a wonderful opportunity for them to go ahead and get their GED or high school equivalency so that they can enter the workforce at that point. So they're very supportive of our students in that way as well. And one last item, our school building program committee will be meeting the first Thursday of August, August the 4th. It'll be at 5:30 p.m. at South Middle School, so if any of you would like to join us for that. At that meeting is when we will set the town hall type meetings, the schedule for that, so you all are welcome to attend if you'd like.
What was
What's
that
the
date
date?
again?
That is August the 4th at 5:30 at South Middle.
Is that been publicized?
We really haven't. The committee, the intent of that meeting is to set up the dates for the town hall
Okay.
meetings.
So it's
And then
not
we'll,
just a-
we'll hold those later in August, so we'll get the word out through the local media at that point. But that's when the dates should be set at that meeting. And that's all I have.
All right, anybody have anything for Dr. Lawrence? If not, we'll move on to item F, old business. Item 1 is policy 3.219, use of an unmanned aircraft systems, drones. I know we talked last month about,
We did, and I had concerns over some of the stipulations in that policy. I had Mr. Cagle review that for us. His advice was to hold on that policy. That's why there's not one there, but I had him leave it because I wanted a placeholder so I'd remember to talk about it. But his recommendation is not to pass that policy at this time because it really is infringing on community, trying to enforce rules and regulations onto the community that we really don't have the authority to do as a school system. So he encouraged that if we get to the point where we think that we're going to actually purchase drones for some type of a curriculum use, we have had that discussion this year. There's a CTE program that was interested in doing drones possibly. If we get to that point, he said that then we would try to draft a policy that reflects the school system's responsibility in the use of a drone and not focus necessarily on the community use of a drone. So that was his recommendation to the board, was to forego that right now.
so I'm assuming that's your recommendation for us
It
as well.
is, yes,
So we just want to take no action on that.
correct.
Okay. Any discussion on that one before we move on?
I think that makes sense.
Okay. Item 2 is policy 6.304, student discrimination, harassment, bullying, cyberbullying, and intimidation.
I also sent, based on our discussion last month, this policy to Mr. Cagle and had him look at it. He really didn't make a lot of recommended changes. Then Mr. Tucker also sent some recommended legal type of verbiage in. I also sent that on to Chuck to kind of take a look at that as well, so he's reviewed both. He said that the recommended changes in this policy adhere to statute, so there is no issue with incorporating these changes into the policy. He felt like it did make it a stronger policy for enforcement. So I would recommend that you adopt this policy as stated or as revised.
Al, one question I have, and I know obviously all the red is new, but is how different is this policy from what TSBA recommended?
What is lined out is anything that's in black, that was the basic TSBA policy. With some just minor alterations that they had made this year.
But some of the red is TSBA also, isn't it?
It was initially.
I think Mr. Adams made the recommendations on page 1 and page page 2. I think everything after page 2, what's in red was recommended by TSBA.
That would be correct. I didn't do
Right.
anything after page 2.
And page 3, that is the new state law about investigating a report of an incident. So that was from TSBA, and that's based on the new state law that went into effect.
And that's the time frame, right?
Correct, yes, which is a pretty quick turnaround on the time frame. We are purchasing part of the budget this year is the Stop It program that we put into place as a pilot this year at Franklin County High School. We are purchasing that for all of our secondary schools. So the middle schools in Huntland and the high school will all have that this coming year, which is a easy way for students to anonymously report any incidences of this that are going on.
And I can summarize, what the issue was that or the issues were that I was trying to address with these revisions. And that was both the under-inclusivity and the over-inclusivity of the policy as written. The under-inclusivity was, if you see in lines, it's crossed out, but 7 through 9, it prohibited bullying, cyberbullying, discrimination, harassment, hazing, or any other victimization of students based on any actual or perceived trait or characteristic. And that was under-inclusive in the sense that, well, if you were an equal opportunity bullier and you just bullied people because you like to bully, then that would not technically be a violation of this policy because it was not based on any actual or perceived trait or characteristic. So if you get down to it's lines 20 and 21, it says, furthermore, the board prohibits all acts of harassment, bullying, cyberbullying, intimidation, hazing, or other victimization of students regardless of the actor's motivation or intent. The way it was over-inclusive was that it prohibited technically, and I don't think it was being enforced this way, but it technically prohibited discrimination based on intellectual, academic ability, athletic ability, artistic ability, and that's not illegal. And so the discrimination, if you look at 17, it's the board prohibits any discrimination that unreasonably and unfavorably differentiates against any member of the school community based on that individual's membership in a legally protected class or that individual's actual or perceived traits or characteristics. And that phrase, actual or perceived traits or characteristics, was from the TSBA, but my proposal is just to limit that to the discrimination. The basic principles finding the reasons for doing it are consistent with what we had said before. There's not an expansion in terms of kind of the types of discrimination that we're prohibiting. It's consistent with what we've done in the past. The only for example, you'll see that national origin is added, which sometimes is used interchangeably with ethnicity, but national origin is actually what federal law actually refers to. You could probably get rid of ethnicity and leave national origin in there, but it's just to be consistent, I left both of them in there. The other thing that I did, and this is a little bit of an expansion, is that the prior policy only applied to staff and students. It didn't apply to a volunteer. It didn't apply to an independent contractor that was on school property, and so what I did, so I added that we were going to have the same expectations that we have for students Employees will have that for volunteers and visitors and contractors when they're on school property. That's, I would say if there's any kind of expansion of the policy that I'm proposing, it's that, but in terms of, you know, what is permitted and what is not permitted, it's basically the same.
Now, were you saying this was incorporated into this policy at the bottom?
If you look at the very end of this policy under reports, there's a requirement that by July 1st of each year, or I guess it's the most
15,
recent, yeah,
line 15.
Of that page that I'm supposed to present this report to you all.
Okay.
And we've already submitted it to the state as well, so that's been taken care of.
Just for my knowledge, when do you have to submit this to the state?
By August 1st.
Okay.
Yes, you've already looked at
Does this policy go far enough to protect students after school on social media?
I don't think that you can have a policy to protect kids after school off campus. I think you're getting into a spider's web that you don't want to be part of.
You can't necessarily, and this is not a deviation from past policy, because if you look on lines 37 through 40,
That's what I was just looking at.
it's if the act takes place off of school property or outside the school-sponsored activity, this policy is in effect if the conduct is directed specifically at a student or students and has the effect of creating a hostile educational environment. I think what that leaves open is if a child is bullied outside of school and it doesn't affect the school environment, then there's nothing that the schools can do about it. But if it somehow affects the educational environment of the student being targeted, then there could be things that the school system could do, or the principal could do within the school to address that. But not going out, not in terms of any kind of enforcement outside of the school.
Chris, don't we have a lot of records showing there's a lot of the cyberbullying?
No,
No.
we really don't have a lot of records of bullying, period. But as to what Mr. Tucker said, the thing, I think this is what and this is how it is. If something happens at 9 o'clock at night over social media, but it does not create a problem for maybe in the school, there's not anything we can do about that. We don't have any jurisdiction. If it brings a problem to the school and causes an incident there, you can use that through investigation. The SROs do that a lot. Through social media, you can gather information and say this is contributing to the problem. But you cannot police out of school, off campus. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If it's
Yeah.
causing a problem that's happening in the school, that's one thing. If it's just a problem that's happening that's not here in school, there's no way.
Yeah, and I know we may not have tangible records or whatever, but I know quite a bit of that goes that in.
Well, there's
when we got
text
that.
messaging and Facebook messaging, that kind of thing. There's a lot
And-
of back and forth.
Yeah.
But very rarely will you have that where it winds up causing a problem in the building. And it just doesn't happen that much.
Yeah, I don't know how you would control it, but that does take place.
You can't. I mean, until they find somewhere else.
It's probably, my suspicion is probably something that's underreported, and just because of the nature of the medium through which it's occurred.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing, yeah, but I just know
Yeah.
we hear quite a bit about it.
If we get into it on Facebook and I beat you up in Deckard, the school can't really do anything about that.
Well,
That's
Jake Wall.
Yeah, Chief Hall.
All right, you're saying this was legal, our counsel's advice to adopt this policy?
It's been reviewed by 2 lawyers.
Okay. And that's your recommendation?
Yes, it
And it does encompass everything new from TSBA?
is. It does, yes.
All right, Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to adopt.
We have a motion to adopt this policy in a second. Discussion. If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item G, new business, FCHS petty cash travel expense request.
This is a standard letter that you all receive every year for approval. Basically just the approval to keep petty cash on hand during athletic activities.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Item 2 is 16-17 athletic ambulance service agreement.
There's been some updates. You'll note those in red. Also, I think Mr. Bean has had a conversation with our ambulance service as well. If you have any questions about what they provide, there has been some changes in the company and that sort of thing. So we have worked with them and updated this.
So some of a couple of questions I had, not that I know there are changes. The first one there I'm looking at, the ambulance will be on site at least 30 minutes before. Is there, what was it before? Are we changing that? Were we not there 30 minutes before?
10.
10 minutes before, okay. And then the fee of $100. Was there a fee before?
Did you hear the question?
Can you answer that?
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
it was $50 and it's been $50 for several years. And at some point we made a change with the ambulance service and somehow it went up to $100. And then we changed back to the old one and it went back to $50. So they kind of felt slighted a little bit and they requested, and it's been 50 for several years. So other than that 1 year where it went up to 100 and went back. So that's where the,
But the 30 minutes will help us then, for sure.
yes, I didn't understand that was.
Okay.
Move to approve the agreement.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the agreement in a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Item 3, 16-17 Code of Behavior Discipline. When I looked at this earlier, there's 43 pages. And it's my understanding, when I was going over most of this, all the red are things that we've adopted since this
Since last year.
code of behavior last year, and they're reflected. Everything in there is things that we have already approved, to my knowledge.
Correct. It's basically pulled from policies that have been updated throughout the year. One of the things that I've asked Ms. Foster to do this year is look at this document as well as our school handbooks. I feel like we're duplicating a lot of this in different places. So I'm asking her to put together a committee to look at this and let's try to consolidate the code into a handbook and have one document, kind of a one-stop shop for all the parents and the students where we're not going to multiple different documents. So she's going to be looking at that this year as we go through the year. But this will be adopted. Obviously, we want to have it in place before the school year starts.
But again, there's 40-something pages.
If you want to read through it.
Right, but
Yeah.
again, I guess what I'm
It's
pointing
based
out,
on all
everything in
policy.
red is things that we've talked about all year that is policy changes that are incorporated.
Nothing new other than just those updates.
I think we've already approved.
Exactly. And that's all they're doing is reflecting it in the new
The
policy.
official document.
Exactly.
And the policy that we just approved at 6.304 is reflected in there as
Right,
well.
it is.
It's already been
On
updated.
page 24 and 25.
Ms. Foster did that this afternoon.
With that being said, I'll make the motion that we adopt this. So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have one question, and it's something that we can revisit, and it's simply because it's a question that that I received from some constituents, and I think we all received an email about it today. It was about the drug testing of extracurricular participants in extracurricular activities, and we passed that, and I think many of us either thought that was, I think I thought it was that we were doing it because to be consistent with sports, but I also didn't think that there was, like, at the present time, like, any plan to start testing people in extracurricular activities.
I don't think that was the intent.
Yeah.
My understanding was not the intent.
We all know about intent
Yes.
after this last week.
So,
Yeah, we know you can't prove it.
No, I think that was, I think that, we talked about that a little bit earlier, that the intent was, it was, when we discussed and adopted that policy, it was based on that student or athletic.
and to be consistent, and that there is that possibility, but whether we actually do it or not is another thing.
Yeah, no one set aside any money for
Yeah,
that to
yeah,
happen, so,
yeah.
you know.
Okay. I just wanted to, because some question had been raised, I just wanted to
No, I think
have
that,
discuss it briefly.
and I think Dr. Long knows what the intent was.
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion there? We do have a motion and a second to approve this. If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Any new business we need to discuss? If not, we have a work session August the 1st, and our regular board meeting August the 8th. And again, you said August the 4th?
August the 4th
Will
is
be
the
the school
school
committee.
building committee.
For building committee, not school.
This is school building program committee.
When is the next school meeting?
I was thinking it was in October, is it September?
Is it September, October?
I'm not sure, I'll verify and send an email out,
Okay.
so you all know.
But we don't have work
We will have a work session, I think.
August
I think
1st.
so, as of right now. We may try to start our school visits back in August. We'll see. It's pretty close to
Do
the
we have a
start.
starting date in August?
Teachers come back August 1st.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. It's right around the corner.
Mercy.
All right, if no other business,
Motion to adjourn.
we have a motion to adjourn, a second, all in favor say aye.